Hi there everyone, we are back on 67. Hail, hail after Celtic's fourth consecutive victory away from home in the league. Dundee 2, Celtic 4. Hamish here with Stevie of course as well. Thanks for joining us. If you're live, or we're live, watching us live, thanks if you're watching afterwards as well. Stevie, first of all, thoughts on the game today?
Felt very routine, I thought, didn't it? I think coming into this game, never really felt as if we were going to be threatened. I think you look at us, look at the amount of goals we scored in best attack against the worst defence, and you saw today how it panned out. I think the scoreline probably flattered Dundee a wee bit, but I really felt as if coming into the game we were nervous. When we're doing these sort of things, we're always no jittery, but you're always a wee bit apprehensive of the way how we started the season. But we're really getting into a groove now, and before the game we weren't panicked. During it we watched it, we were fairly sort of relaxed, and then after it, 3 deserved points.
8 minutes in, when the first goal went in, Stevie turned to me and said game over, so that's the overconfidence I'm dealing with here. Hopefully we can kind of get Stevie in an even keel during this video. We'll go back to when the team was announced. I worked out just shortly after the team was announced, it was actually an unchanged 11 from,
well done.
Thank you. Round of applause, please, at home. An unchanged 11 from the last game, obviously in midweek. The first time that has happened under Ange. I actually looked back throughout all the teams that Ange has announced so far since he's been at the club, and yeah, it's the first time we had the 11 same players that started against Ferencváros started today. And you know, I called it yesterday, I predicted it earlier in the week, you could say, and it was quite obvious. I think he was going to play the same team. You couldn't really change the team that played against Ferencváros, could you?
No, because that was some of our best football we played as well, certainly offensively, and there was no way. I mean, you look at the level Ferencváros are at, they're several sort of tiers above Dundee, so you're getting into that game with that front three. They would have been flying full of confidence, and that's what we saw today. There was no way. I think Ange would have been he would have been questioned by the cynical members of the support had he changed that, and I'm glad he didn't, because look how it turned out. That, I mean, the first half as well, we did look so threatening every time we went forward.
Yeah, and obviously we got that early goal, I think 8 minutes in, when Jota, it was, wasn't it?
I had to think about that.
I know. It's so many goals nowadays with watching Celtic. You didn't have that problem last season. Ralston has a shot, it's actually deflected onto the post, and Jota's following up. If we kind of link Jota's 2 goals together, both his first one and the one he scores at the start of the second half, real poacher instincts in those goals. I don't think it's something I expected to see when Jota signed. I certainly expected to see the tricky winger that we see before us, him creating goals, putting balls into the box. I didn't expect to see this kind of goal scoring threat. I mean, I think he's probably scored 6 or 7 goals for Celtic now, which, given that he hasn't played a lot, we only signed him a couple of months ago, it's a really impressive tally. The guy's an extreme talent, but I think beyond the goals as well, beyond the talent he has, it's the goals he's scoring, and that first one especially was just a real poacher's goal.
Yeah, he did, and he just knows where to be. It's like we saw with a lot of Ange's players when he's got the offensive players in, Kyogo, Abada, Jota. They all seem to have a right good knack of being in the right place at the right time. We saw Abada when he first came in. He was always cutting inside, and he was always round about the 6-yard area and knowing how to react instinctively. It's the same with Jota, so I think a lot of those front three now have got it drilled into them. Like, don't just hang about out wide. Be in the centre, you're more likely to score.
It's
there.
A real big part of Ange's football, isn't it?
It
Remember
is.
when he's doing that open, it's not open mic, mic'd up session, and he's chatting about, you have to be alive no matter where the ball is in the park, and no matter the position you play, you have to be alive, and we see that all the time. Jota's already set up Abada for a couple of goals. The goal against Dundee United at home springs out when Abada, got in at the back stick, and Jota again for that goal today from Ralston's cross. It's really promising to see these guys not just doing the pretty bits of football and beating players and committing players, but actually having the end product as well.
Yeah, it's good to see, definitely. And as well, it's when you look at Jota, where he's played, where he's came from, the culture coming into Scottish football, it's not an easy thing to do, just to come in and boss it like he has. It shows he's such a talented player. And I have got to say to the people who watch this channel, you said after the Ross County game, I was a little bit critical of, I think you and Ewan were both saying how you were blown away by his debut. I thought, stick him into these games away up at Dens Park, at Livingston, and the real bread and butter games for us. Let's see how he does then, and I'll judge him. So I have judged him now on the games and the higher games for us in Europe. He's excelled and he has shut me up, which is what
a difficult thing
every
to
Celtic
do.
player should be looking to shut a guy like me up, and he really has. He's been fantastic for us.
It is a good point you raised, though, because another thing that happened when he signed was a lot of people had doubts over whether he could do it on a, quote, relatively cold November afternoon at Dens Park, and he was, for me, the best player in the park today. He was absolutely excellent. Another guy who was perhaps a contender to be player of the match, set up at least 2 of the goals, Anthony Ralston.
Fantastic.
Kind of getting the rewards now for what he's been doing for a while. I thought last week against Livingston he had a couple of really good crosses in the first half that nobody got in the end of. Today players were getting on the end of them. And the guy I actually think he's gone on to even better levels than before. He had that initial surge in the team and everyone kind of got a bit excited and surprised about how good Ralston had been performing. Then there was a little bit of a dip as Celtic had a dip. But his last 5 or 6 games, he's consistently been, a 7, 8 out of 10. And you don't want to go into all the old things people are saying about him because it's the most talked about subject at Celtic, the revival of Anthony Ralston. But today, I mean, that was a brilliant performance today. The balls he put into the box, the way he defended at times, the care he took of the ball in the middle of the park as well.
Do you know what I found really good about it? Do you know how he just got his contract during the week? How often do you see when players get that big bumper contract, tabloid part of there, that they start getting comfortable again? It's almost a case of, oh, I'm settled, I've got that security behind me, I can get away with some mistakes. He was just looking to elevate his game more and more today. Yeah. We saw it with the assists, but it's his all-round game, it's his positioning, he wasn't giving the ball away a lot, and he was just looking to get forward whenever possible. I thought he was defending solid, and as I keep saying every time again, we've got a Croatian international having to play out of position because...
You want him at right back,
I want him at right back, but I can get your point, right? I think it's just because I always want to see the best players in the best positions. It's testament that Ralston is keeping them out in that respect, but I still think Juranovic at right back is a better footballer there and maybe more balanced, but it's very hard to criticise and for me to pick holes when you look at his performance today, you look at our result today, and if it's working so far, fair enough, but I do worry on the flip side of going, what if it doesn't, when it starts going downhill in that respect, and I guess we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, but today isn't about that.
Yeah, Kyogo as well. Kyogo has this weird thing because he's an unbelievable player. I just think he's absolutely brilliant. He actually at times doesn't impact games in terms of being involved in the play a lot. He kind of stays away from the play at times and then will just score a goal out of a brilliant piece of movement, and he gets 2 really good goals today. His goal scoring record is incredible. His first goal today, brilliant header, dare I say Lee Griffiths like header, the way he nodded that into the corner.
Very Larsson-esque actually.
Well, we're going for different ends of the scale here. I've gone for Griffiths. You're showing your age with Larsson, but whatever. It was brilliant movement and a great header, and I think it was his first header he scored for the club as well. I mean, if this guy is starting to score headers, then we might all as well just shut up shop. We're going to win the lot this season.
Was that his 13th goal of the season today as well?
And he likes him against Dundee as well. I think he scored 5 against Dundee now.
Yes, so he's some talent. Just today, as you say, I mean, I think that the big thing we take away from it is we keep saying, it's just, there's no way he can be taken out in the middle now. I mean, he has got to be playing there all the time, even if he's quiet, even if nothing's coming off for him, he's going to pop up with a goal. He's such a threat, and just Dundee switched off just for that second around him. He took advantage and made it 2-0, and that was really that was just the comfort goal for us as well, because as we saw after it, we might have had a mistake in us and whatever, but you still knew even in the second half and everything with Kyogo sniffing about, we were going to get a chance, and he took it. I suppose we'll talk about his second one a bit later. I'm not the host of this, but still.
You can go for it now if you want.
What a goal. I think we just both watched it in here. And
Jota's incredible, isn't he?
The move, they're just so fluid when he moved down the left, and the finish was not an easy one to take at all. First time left foot into the near post like that. Brilliant goal. We just stood up and applauded it, and it was just the type of goal you just associate with the club as well. Yeah,
I mean, at that stage, Celtic looked as if the players looked as if the confidence was just flowing through them all. We actually both made the same point within 30 seconds of each other, and it's a great point when 2 handsome legends are making it. But I tweeted it. I said that I felt Celtic were going to score an unbelievable team goal. This is when it's at 4-1, and obviously we didn't score a goal after that. You could argue the one that Kyogo scores is a brilliant team goal.
Showcase goal, we call
it.
Yeah,
I think we both felt there was a similarity with today's performance to the St Johnstone game in the Invincible season, when we scored that amazing team goal, Lustig doing the Rabona, etc., Dembele putting it into the net. I think we saw similarities today in terms of the confidence. Players were trying things today, and more often than not they were coming off and it was looking magical. And I think the pinnacle of that today, pinnacle is a big buzzword I've been saying this week, the pinnacle of that today was that fourth goal. I mean, that was an incredible Celtic goal. I mean, you compare it to some of the turgid football we've seen at times this season, but more notably over the last couple of seasons, it was sublime. Dundee came out and played today.
Yeah, they did.
And I think I personally wasn't expecting that. I thought they would be, battered and bruised from the last game at Celtic Park, 6-0. I thought they would really shut up shop today, seeing what Livingston did last week, and make it really difficult for us. To be fair, they came and played, but the space we ran into. I know you wanted to make a point about the fact that away games nowadays might almost be easier than home matches in terms of teams are probably not going to be allowed to sit as deep by their home support when Celtic come visiting.
Yeah, and it's a strange one now, because we were struggling away at the start of the season, and Celtic Park was where we were comfortable. It's not, I wouldn't say we're uncomfortable at Celtic Park, but we don't play the same type of football. We play a more expansive, fluid type of football now away from home, as we saw certainly Easter Road. We controlled it against Motherwell for Park, and today we ran riot. But I do have to say, we both said it as well, didn't we, in the second half, that Dundee at least went for it. They didn't just sit in like Livingston, but by going for it, I mean, we just exploited the gaps, and you can see why they get slaughtered, and then you can see why teams like Livingston play the way they do. But Dundee, as we also said, have got some, they've got some genuine attacking players there. I don't think they'd be comfy just sitting in, because they generally do tend to go for it as well.
Yeah, they're not good enough defensively to sit in. I don't think they're good enough.
I mean, I know it's about Celtic, but in terms of the league and all that, I don't think Dundee are good enough to stay in it. I really don't. But that's maybe for another day. It's another point. But I mean, we did go into that today fully expecting 3 points, and I do think now as well that, without being arrogant or whatever and dismissive of other
Wouldn't
teams.
Be like you?
No, but I'm not. I mean, I do respect the teams in the league, but I do think now the Celtic, with the run they're on, the expectation levels are going up because the standards are going up, and when you've got guys like Jota and Kyogo firing the way they are, then you're expecting now to go into games and give, some teams are going to get done in, and that's a good way to go into games now, rather than get in just fearing it, going, Celtic are going to turn up. You're now expecting a real ruthless Celtic to turn up, because they're getting far more confident and they're now getting used to each other. It's great to see, and I think the manager has really stuck to it very well with this team.
Yeah, I mean, the attacking football is going to get the headlines today, because some of it was absolutely scintillating. But I think what will go under the radar was how hard Celtic worked today to almost, without using that old cliche that managers in junior football love, you've got to earn the right to play. Celtic did do that today. We battled in the midfield, and we didn't give Dundee a second to really relax. Certainly until the game was won in that first hour, we didn't give Dundee a chance to relax at all. We were constantly at them, winning the ball back, and I just thought that's part of today that I really noticed watching the game, was how hard Celtic worked out of possession to win the ball back. And as I say, the attacking football, Kyogo, Jota, etc., is going to steal the headlines, and rightly so. But I think this is a Celtic team that is really together as a team. I mean, you can tell sometimes watching a team when they're really together, and at the moment that is a team that is really together. It's just a shame, I guess, that the international break, our good old friends international breaks, are returning when Celtic are so free flowing. We couldn't really be going into it in much better spirits, though, could we?
Nah, it was night and day to the international break before, where we got that win over Aberdeen, but there was huge concerns about the team, wasn't there, and about how we got out of jail at Pittodrie, whereas now, since that international break, Ange just had the chance to work with some of the players now, and we just look at a far more settled team. We can control games now, we can see them out, but not only that, we look as if we're going forward now, and we've sorted that. I'd like to think we sorted the away day.
It's four wins, as I say, away in our own. It's almost the home form now you're slightly more worried about.
That's how apprehensious were we going to places like Pittodrie and all that, and if we were to play Aberdeen sort of after the international break this time, we'd be getting into that so confident. And I think that last international break, it really did a big massive favour for us when it came to a lot of the players there getting used to each other and working with the manager more.
I think Near Beaton was great today as well.
Was, yeah.
Two really good games he's had in a row. I thought David Turnbull had a pretty good game as well. Callum McGregor was actually maybe a wee bit quieter than normal. That's how I viewed it anyway. But again, just a solid game from him. But there's so many match winners in that team at the moment that you can kind of afford to have maybe a player having a wee bit of a quieter game, because there's just goals everywhere you look in that team. The improvement from when we last sat here after that Aberdeen game is immense. You know, and that's over the last 7 games in this wee international chunk. We've really built up a real bit of momentum. It was only that Livingston game that's the only black mark during this recent run, and it's really positive. We'll take a wee look at the league table, then I think we'll get into some of your comments. That's what it looks like. Obviously, there's a game later on today, so we will probably end up 4 points behind. You'd expect Rangers to beat Ross County at home, but that's what it looks like now. And as I say, you know, the league form, other than that Livingston game lately, has been pretty impressive. Any more thoughts on the game today before we move on to some other stuff? I've got some comments I want to get in as well, Stevie.
I think just the other point today was when Dundee made it 2-1 and we saw Juranovic getting worked into a shoot by one of their players. Who was it? Was it Kerr maybe? I'm not sure.
No, I wouldn't.
I thought again we always talk about how big Joe Hart's been for us, and he was right over calming Juranovic down, because that's what we needed. But yeah, cool head for him. He could have lost the plot after that. Thankfully, he went on to have another very composed game. So no, it was good that Joe Hart did that, calmed it down, and that was the only really sort of flashpoint there was. Really, it was. I think we were expecting like a red card or something in the second half, certainly for Charlie Adam, the way he was putting himself about. But nah, he just fizzled away into nothing, didn't he?
Yeah, right, I'm going to go through some of your comments. I've been kind of favouriting them as we go on. I'm always worried about daft things ending up on screen here, but I'll take the risk. You can usually trust Mazhar Yusuf. Really pleasing to see Celtic adapting to the lessons that were highlighted versus Livy. Beaton was a lot more quicker on the ball. First thought was to pass it forward. What a job Ange is doing. Mark Daly, I reckon that GG will come good and the goals will start to flow. He's trying too hard. I think that's something you mentioned as well.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that.
Is that Mark Stevie Dundee?
I do agree with Mark what he says there. I thought GG was trying way too hard and stuff, and he's just got to be far more natural. It's understandable after letting the team down the other week, but I think the goals will come for him. Yeah. It's just a case of being as natural as possible. And when you start trying too hard, that's when it gets frustrating and all that, and it will be worse for him. But yeah, I noticed that today. But with more games like that on, and the more he's flung on against tiring teams that are sort of down and everything, I'm sure that will become second nature soon enough.
Martin Devlin, we need to give Benfica the money now. Spurs too. Yeah, CCV and Jota. I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I can already hear the words from a Mr. John McGinley on the channel. Just enjoy it, everyone. And actually, that's a point I wanted to make.
Well, it was trust the process.
Oh, he's got a lot of catchphrases, John. But no, a point I wanted to make was that I think at the moment, as Celtic fans, we just need to enjoy this. At the moment, it's very easy to get, bogged down with, are we going to win the league? Is Ange going to be a massive success? How quickly is it going to happen? When are we going to be top of the league, even being more short term? I think we just need to enjoy performances like today, because it's been a long time since we've had a Celtic team that can pass the ball and move the ball like that and win the ball back as quickly as that. I think we just need to try and enjoy games like today, and everything will take care of itself. We might not win the league this year. I would say it's still 50-50. Rangers are probably going to improve. So there's no guarantees that this Celtic team are going to win anything this season. But I think what we do have a guarantee is that we're going to be entertained when we're watching this Celtic team. And this Celtic team, if they follow through on what we've seen already, are going to learn from mistakes. I think that's the thing we've seen from this team already. They learn from their mistakes and they improve as time goes on. And it's still so early in this Celtic team, but I'm just very entertained with what I watched today.
I think, without turning and taking your job over on the channel here, Hamish, I think Alfie 1888 there can see both points there, because I do feel our defending. I mean, when have we been moaning about our defending in the last few games? We haven't, but that's now 2 silly goals against a free goal against Ferencváros. One get a wee bit slack, but the 2 ones today were poor. I felt we were watching it today and we felt as if Welsh should have done a lot better with the first. Joe Hart was poor with the second, but I mean, that's been no moans about the defence and the last since the international break, Hamish. So I think they do deserve a wee bit of slack. And another one, my pal Carol Starfelt, who I have slaughtered maybe today, just goes to show that we actually probably missed him a wee bit with the goals we conceded.
Yeah.
And that's it. So there you go. He's turned it around with me so far.
Craven Moorcock getting in touch. When are you starting the crowd-funded statue of Ange, Hamish? Your podcast pal John Reedzo Reed is a fan of statues. I think he commented last year that he wanted a Neil Lennon one. Do you think we can get John on this?
I think as long as John's not having to fund it, then I'm sure he will agree that Ange should have a statue. Yes, John has very low standards in that respect. He's not like us, Hamish.
I know. Right, we're going to leave it there in terms of the match. One thing we wanted to touch on afterwards was the stop-start nature of the start to the match. Now, Stevie's a bit ignorant to this situation because he was running late, I think due to COP26, which is taking place in Glasgow, where we're recording. Very busy at the moment. So you were late today.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, so it was enough to miss
a lifetime for some fans, it would seem.
It was enough to miss the avalanche of tennis balls launched onto the pitch, I think about 90 seconds into the match. It was a protest from the Celtic fans. If you're wondering what the relevance of the tennis balls was, it was to do with, as I say, a protest that Bernard Higgins, who Celtic I think are still reportedly close to appointing in a high-profile security role at the club. He's a former, I think, ACC at Police Scotland. The reason for the tennis balls, there was a banner held up today with the words, fans or Higgins, the ball's in your court, Nicholson. Obviously Michael Nicholson, the acting CEO. So balls in your court, tennis balls. That's why it was tennis balls today. I've not really got much to say about it. I know it's quite a hot topic, a lot of people commenting, some think it was embarrassing, some think it was brilliant. I tend to be more in the latter. What I would say though is that it was a protest and it worked because everyone's talking about it. They've raised awareness for what I think is a pretty troubling thing that could be happening at Celtic. We've touched on this in the past, and I think this stuff's going to continue as we go on after the international break as well.
Shouldn't be continuing because the day should be the one where we nip it in the bud and don't have a poisonous individual like that anywhere near the club. I mean, I've said my thoughts on it, you have as well, and I know that we don't want to rumble on about it, but can't also act like it's not happening. It's a serious subject and the guy should be nowhere near the club. It's that simple. So I fully agree with any protest that fans wanting to make against this guy. Good on them, because I strongly disagree with it.
Yeah.
Just like I'd say the majority of people do. He's got no.
Do you think anything will happen from this? The ball is in Celtic's court. What are they going to do?
I don't know. I mean, when it comes to that Celtic board listening to the fans, I mean, you look at last season and how they could have acted when they saw how annoyed fans were at what a situation that ended up spiralling out of control, and all it would have been taken is just removing one person from a position of power, and it now looks like they're going to be appointing another person in a position of power. I'd be stunned if they listen to the fans, I really would. Hopefully they do, but one thing is for sure, that if that guy does get in, it will just keep, fans will be more and more raging about it, and they've got every right to protest until he's out. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yep, fully behind it. We're going to leave it there. I want to just finish on a comment we just got in from Craig Whaley there in Australia. Celtic supporters escalating rapidly all over Australia. Ange ball playing out in Europe is exciting to see. I hope everyone watching this, whatever time it is down under, I hope you enjoyed watching that match. It's just great to have Celtic back playing like we know they can. It's been so long since we had a Celtic team to be excited about, and this is a Celtic team that's got so far to go. Sadly now, and I sometimes get in trouble for saying this, we have to put up with another international break. No Celtic in our lives for 2 weeks. The good news is after that we're, I think, all the way through until March. We've got, obviously there's a winter break as well, but there'll be so many games coming thick and fast. 2 games a week basically for the next 3 or 4 months after that, and who knows where we'll be at the end of that. I think we're in a good place though right now, aren't we?
Yeah, as we saw today, the team or the players, they're getting far more used to each other. They're buying into what the manager's doing, and the fans have been behind the manager and the team for day one as well. But you even just saw today as well.
Celebrations were good.
They always are. They've been getting far better and better, and now that we've been able to sort of screw them up when it comes to going away and getting them more relaxed throughout these games, then that'll be good for the very tough winter we've got. Although it's not as tough as another team.
Very true. We're going to leave it there. Stevie, thanks so much for joining us on 67 Hail Hail. A big shout out, you can see them in the corner there, Babbity Bowster, the wonderful pub in the Merchant City of Glasgow. Do a lovely burger as well, and haggis bonbons, so I hear. But we enjoyed ourselves. Thanks everyone for tuning in. As I say, whether you've watched live or on demand. Afterwards, we will be back tomorrow with more Celtic content, not stopping during the international break at all. Take care everyone, and hail hail.